Good afternoon and welcome to today's program, Degrees of Separation, Retaining College Graduates in Greater Worcester. My name is Tim McGurthy and I serve as Executive Director of the Worcester Regional Research Bureau. The Research Bureau serves the public interest of Greater Worcester by conducting independent research and analysis of public policy to inform public debate and decision-making. I'd like to express our gratitude to Assumption College for co-presenting today's event with us, and to bring greetings from Assumption, please welcome President Francesco Cesareo.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to welcome you here to Assumption this afternoon. As you know, we have a very close relationship with the Worcester Regional Research Bureau, with their offices housed here on our campus, and it's been a wonderful collaboration between ourselves and the Research Bureau, not only in terms of providing internship opportunities for our students, but also collaborations with our faculty in terms of research and in terms of programmatic initiatives. So we're very, very happy to be so closely connected with the Research Bureau. I'd like to welcome Tim Murray this afternoon, Nikki DiOrio from our own staff, Patrick Muldoon from UMass, and one of our most recent graduate back in May, Nick Guerra, who is on this panel today. This is a very important topic. You know, we have all of these all of the colleges in the Worcester and in the Worcester region that draw an enormous brain power to this region of the Commonwealth. And we're preparing these individuals to go out after they graduate and use that brain power, use the knowledge for the betterment of society, for professional areas that they have a great deal of interest in. And it's a great challenge to make sure that we retain as many of these talented young people in this area, so that this area can continue to grow, can grow economically, and therefore it becomes even more attractive to prospective students, prospective employers, prospective industries that might be looking for relocation into a particular region. So for the higher education community, we see this as a great responsibility to try to help our students recognize the many opportunities that exist in this region, and to partner with the city, with the Chamber of Commerce, with various entities to make sure that our graduates see the opportunities and feel that they can be a part of this community well beyond the 4 years that they are at our educational institutions. So I applaud the Research Bureau for hosting this very important topic, and I know that our panelists will have some wonderful ideas to share in terms of how we can make this goal a reality. So thank you so much for being here this afternoon.
Thank you, President Cesareo. And I do want to point, one of the greatest assets we have from our location here on Assumption is the access to student interns. Every semester we have a number of student interns from Assumption that work with us on our research, that help us get insight into what students are thinking, what young people are thinking as they interact with the city and the region. And the Assumption has been very generous with its students and with its time over the years, so thank you. Today's program is built on the Research Bureau's recent report, Central Massachusetts Talent Retention Project, a survey of the class of 2014, which is available on the Research Bureau website if you'd like to download the report and review it. While the data shows that the region continues to draw a young, educated population, we're more challenged in keeping our college students here in the city staying in the city. While our public colleges and universities often draw locally and retain locally, our private schools with a broader, more national outlook tend to draw from a larger region, and people leave after college. We have about 20% retainage here within the city and the region, but then 80% go off to larger cities or back home. And so the challenge for the city, in order to grow and continue to develop, especially as we look at recent reports indicating that Massachusetts as a whole faces a potential loss of bachelor's degrees and higher in terms of a population, is to keep those college students here within the city. And so our goal is to, through our survey, understand what the motivations are, and through a panel like this and ongoing efforts, understand what we as a community can do better in order to keep our students here. With that, today's event is part of the Research Bureau's Francis Harrington Forums on Municipal Government. These forums are free and open to the public and are an opportunity to hear from experts on critical topics affecting Greater Worcester. We're very grateful for the sponsors for today's program: presenting sponsor Commerce Bank, supporting sponsor Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, and AbbVie and Rand Whitney Container. We also express our sincere appreciation to the Telegram and Gazette, which has done a phenomenal job helping us promote today's events and all of the research that we do on a regular basis. All of our sponsors and members are listed on our website and in the annual report. With that, I'll turn to our moderator, President and CEO of the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce, Tim Murray. Tim, former mayor of Worcester and Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor, doesn't need my introduction. He's been a staunch advocate for Central Massachusetts in building the transportation, economic, educational, and social infrastructure for growth. Under his leadership, the Chamber has been a major figure in the effort to connect college students with our business and social communities. So, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. And the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce and our board chair, Sue Mailman, is here. We are really excited with the partnership and the opportunity to partner with the Research Bureau to benchmark and create a process whereby we're able to measure, hopefully, our progress and success in retaining more college students in Worcester and in all of Central Massachusetts. We know that it is vitally important for the future of our economy and our region. We also are very excited to have three speakers, panelists who are going to first speak, share with you their thoughts, and then engage in a panel discussion who bring three distinct viewpoints as to how and why we can do better. Before we start the program, though, I want to thank President Cesareo for hosting us. And in his remarks, he talked about collaboration. Well, I think we saw a level of collaboration among our higher ed community just in the last couple of weeks with Assumption College and WPI. And President Cesareo, I think all of us in the community say hats off to you, to your leadership team, and to the Assumption campus, as well as WPI, for what you did in those few days of questioning and threats. So thank you, President Cesareo, for your work. Let's now turn to our panelists. I'm going to first introduce Nikki Diorio, and going to share with you a little bit about her background. Nikki is the Director of Career Development and Internship Center at Assumption College. Prior to joining Assumption in 2011, she worked at Liberty Mutual Insurance, where she was Associate Program Manager for Human Resources Development and specialized in management and professional development training. In her 10 years at Liberty Mutual, she had a variety of roles in university relations, college recruiting, and data analytics. Ms. Diorio earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Finance from the Pennsylvania State University and is pursuing a master's degree in Higher Education Administration at Northeastern University. Nikki?
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for everybody. Welcome to Assumption. As Tim mentioned, I'm Nikki Diorio. I'm the Director of the Career Development and Internship Center at Assumption. My role and the role of my team is to support our students, primarily at the undergraduate level, in preparing them for success beyond Assumption. As a member of the Worcester community, our students are very involved in the work that we do around internships and service. So one of our big commitments to the students is creating opportunities for internships through the Career Center and leveraging our connections in the other departments on campus and using our alumni network to really identify these great opportunities for students. So, for example, one of the key things that our office does and that the college does in general to connect students with the community is connects with local businesses and executives to identify opportunities for internships, job shadows, informational interviewing, to really ensure that the students can explore the opportunities that are in and around Worcester, but also connected to our alumni groups as well. In addition, we really are working with our students and with my peers in the Student Affairs Division in particular and campus ministry to leverage the students' interest in community service. We have students who are out in the community every day through community service learning courses, through volunteering through our Reach Out Center and campus ministry programs. So it's a great opportunity for the students to really learn and explore career opportunities, find out who they are, what they're interested in, and I think that's a great way to really develop the city. You know, we have a lot of talent within the students, and that's a really critical piece to recognize, is that there's multiple ways to connect the students to opportunities to grow and develop, but then also to support the local community. In addition to the work that we do, you know, on our own through the college, we collaborate a lot, as Tim mentioned, through the Chamber of Commerce. We've been finding some great success. We've got a relatively new committee through the work of the Chamber of the Career Center offices throughout the city, and that's really helping us, I think, to come together as a Career Center community to, you know, inform the Chamber of sort of what our needs are, what we think the students' needs are, and be able to work together with the local businesses in the area to, you know, create opportunities for students and influence change for things that are important. You know, hopefully we can move forward with that group and do some more, you know, sort of combined events and things like that. Although all the colleges in the city are very different, I think it's a great opportunity for us to come together to, you know, create some scale with the amount of students and talent that we have. From the standpoint of Assumption, what our students do when they leave is many of them actually do stay in Worcester and in the surrounding area. We are a regional school primarily, although we draw students from all over the globe and all over the country. Many of our students are coming from Massachusetts, and many of them stay here. Almost 70% of the class of 2013 actually stayed in Massachusetts. The graduating classes, we look at, you know, where do they go? Where are they working? Where are they going to school? Particularly with our students who pursue, undergraduate students who pursue graduate study, we see many of them going to college, going to graduate school at the other colleges in Worcester, which I think is a great representation of, you know, the different types of opportunities. It's not all about, you know, where do you go after graduation to immediately get a job, and that's something that I think we have to think about, is how can the colleges in different ways support each other. So we have students, you know, that are going to Worcester State and, you know, MCPHS. We have several students from the classes of 2013 and 2014 at UMass Medical School. So I think, you know, there's some great opportunities there. From the standpoint of, you know, from where our students work, it's very similar to where they intern. You know, our students are working at both for-profit and not-for-profit businesses, both locally and regionally as well. I think where we see the most opportunity is really to make the businesses in the area on the for-profit and non-for-profit sectors really understand that the students are interested, and if they know about the opportunities, there's a good chance that they're going to be excited about them. So I think the big challenge that we have as a community is really just connecting the education entities with the need for talent and making everyone aware of each other. So I think we're off to a really good start. We're proud of what we do here at Assumption, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue what we're doing, but also definitely some opportunities to collaborate as a community and to improve. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And Nikki referenced some of the work with the Chamber. I want to introduce the Director of the Chamber Higher Ed Business Partnership, Karen Pelletier, who is here. One of the two new roles that the Chamber's been asked to take on, and as I mentioned, working with all of our partners, including the Research Bureau, Business Recruitment, but also the Chamber Higher Ed Business Partnership, to build upon exactly what Nikki talked about. We have nearly 2,500 members when you include the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce and our partner affiliates. And we have undertaken an effort to reach out to those businesses, educate them on how to create an internship program if they don't have one, and walk them through that process, and then hopefully cross-pollinate that and grow that number of internship opportunities, and then link them up with our colleges and universities. And we're excited about that work. With that, our next speaker is somebody who is, I think, a personification of this. He is one of the co-founders of the Worcester Student Government Association, which partnered up with the City of Worcester, the Chamber, to do a number of things, but one of them was over 1,000 student survey where we actually went out and surveyed 1,000 students to understand what their needs and desires are, what types of businesses they would like to see, and it's being used as part of our recruitment tool, and the city's using it in different ways as well. So the Worcester Student Government Association, Nick Guerra is one of the co-founders of that, and he's what we want to see more of happen. He's a native of Western Massachusetts, moved to Worcester in 2010 to attend Assumption College. He was heavily involved in many student organizations during his time here. As mentioned, he started the Worcester Student Government Association, which brings together the college campuses and the leadership, student leadership of each campus, brings them together to work on projects and initiatives in a variety of different ways. One of the byproducts of that work is working for Worcester as well. After graduating with a degree in economics and a minor in political science, he's appropriately placed in the office of Congressman Jim McGovern, where he's working as a district representative. Nick, welcome.
Thank you, Tim, for that nice introduction, and Tim for inviting me to speak here. I'm very excited, and the Congressman is very excited about this topic as well. I was reading a survey from an article from the New York Times, and the average percentage of 25-year-olds to 35-year-olds in a metro city throughout the country is 32% with a 4-year degree, and as Tim said, Worcester has 20%. So the Congressman really understands this issue and really sees the potential that Worcester can really take advantage of the many opportunities that's happening here. So the Congressman has 15 colleges with 4-year and 2-year degrees throughout his whole congressional district between Worcester and Amherst. So he really understands and wants to work on this. According to an article with the Brookings Institute, college graduates tend to cluster in patterns. Like they want to live with people that are similar to their needs and their knowledge attainment. So what that means for cities is they're going to have more people that have longer life expectancies, higher incomes, fewer single-parent homes, and also higher incomes, which means a higher tax base, which translates into more public services and better private amenities. So Worcester should really take the investment into obtaining college students because it's going to have a lot of long-term economic policies. So I thought it would be helpful to understand what cities that have higher percentages of college students staying in their city, what they're doing, and then how Worcester is already working on that, and we just have to see what we need to do to continue. So Raleigh, North Carolina has 43.4% college students that are like 25 to 35-year-olds with 4-year degrees in their city, and a lot of the reason of that is because they have a huge high-tech industry that's moving down. A lot of EMC, which is a company headquartered in Massachusetts, is moving a lot of their jobs down to North Carolina. So that they're creating a really big high-tech hub. Obviously San Francisco is in technology. DC, a lot of the government jobs, 46.8% live in there. So, and a lot of the cities that are lagging were former manufacturing cities, which Worcester was. An advantage that Worcester has that a lot of the other cities don't have is Worcester transitioned from their manufacturing past a lot sooner than other cities. So we already have a lot more. So we already have a lot more time to make the investments in the research and other kinds of institutions that we're going to be seeing in a few years. So it's kind of hard speaking on behalf of the Congressman and speaking on my own opinion too. So I'm trying to. Well, that's why I'm like trying to.
We want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm getting there. If you know me, I'll be there in a few minutes. So the Research Bureau said, according to their survey, the top 3 reasons why students move away, or they want to move closer to friends and family, the lack of job opportunities, and they didn't consider it a desirable place to live. My opinion is if we work on area 2 and 3, the closer to the family and friends won't really matter as much because, like Nikki said, we're really a regional college and city. A lot of kids that come to Worcester are from New England, so that's really not really big of an issue. So. What's Worcester doing now? Worcester's doing actually quite a bit. Like Tim said, the Chamber of Commerce is working on an internship hub, which is really trying to get students to get involved in the city, work on internships, and draw that connection right from the beginning. If students feel like they're more connected with the city, if they see this opportunity in the city, then they're going to want to stay. Because as soon as you make that investment, if you're a college student, like it's gonna flourish even faster than if you were to move to Boston and start fresh somewhere else. Other things, so part of what the congressman does is he tries to bring in federal funds to invest in Worcester to spur this kind of economic development. One of the areas is Worcester is the Massachusetts Digital Games Institute, MassDG, which is housed at Becker College. This is huge for the city. It's becoming the gaming capital of the world. We're becoming an innovation hub where students are coming to develop their games, practice it, and then so now we're bringing in a lot of young kids with high-paying jobs. It's going to create about 900 ventures and over 400 direct or indirect jobs over a 10-year period. So the congressman worked to get federal funds to come in and spur this kind of investment. Other areas he invests in, NIH funding. We really work on getting federal funds from the NIH to spur research at UMass Medical and other companies. One of the co-sponsors, BV, is we were at an event yesterday which brought together Mass Bio and Mass BDI to really talk about the advances that are happening in the health sciences field, which Worcester can become a national leader on once we bring in the investments. And so our office is working really closely with that. Another area our office is working on is bringing in federal funds to invest in housing projects, because one of the things that college students don't really see in Worcester is really nice young housing that they can live together. A good example is the Folk Lofts that just opened up. The reason that was started was because state and federal funds were involved in that, so that way the private business could front the costs and with the support of some federal funds. So there's really a lot going on in Worcester that we can be proud of, and I think one of the more promising studies that happened between 2000 and 2008 from the Brookings Institute, Worcester was led the nation in the number of people from 25 to 34 obtaining a 4-year degree. Worcester grew 6.1%, which is the highest percentage increase throughout the whole nation. So I think all the pieces are in place for us to take off. Now, as in terms of why I stayed here, it's real simple. I got a job in Worcester. I mean, if I didn't get a job in Worcester, I would have went wherever I got a job. But the only reason I got the job were for two people. One of them's here, a professor that I had in political science, Mary Beth Burke. Because I had a close connection with her, she knew somebody in Congressman McGovern's office and encouraged me to intern there my I think it was sophomore year in college. And because of that, I really met Kelly. I met the office and I grew some strong connections. And then how I got the job was they had a staff member leave the office, and Kelly remembered me from 2 years ago interning in her office as a possible candidate. So I emailed her, and then she brought me in to interview for the job, and then a couple of days later I got the job. But if it wasn't for Mary Beth and Kelly about making that connection when I was a college student, I wouldn't have got the job, because I wouldn't have been known. I wouldn't have known that there was an opening or anything. So I think the biggest piece to really keep college students in here is what Tim's working on now in the chamber, is making those connections for college students and showing them that there are jobs in here that are enjoyable and that Worcester is a fun place to live. One of the things I think that's great about having 8 colleges or however many colleges in the area is the college students really get to know each other from around the area, and they would prefer to live in a city where college students live. They don't want to move to a small town or to somewhere where they don't know anybody. So there's really a lot to capitalize on here. And I'll wait for more questions later and during the panel to elaborate. Thank you.
Nick, thank you for giving us your story and that tangible example of how those internships, mentorships, in terms of guiding you to the right place, because in the right opportunities, we need to be doing more of that at all different levels in the public sector, private sector, and in the higher ed community. And that's really what this discussion here is all about. So thank you. Our next speaker is Patrick Muldoon, who's the president of the UMass Memorial Medical Center, the academic medical center partner of UMass Medical School since August of 2013. Previously, he was president and chief executive officer of Health Alliance Hospitals, Inc. and Central New England Health Alliance, Inc., serving the residents of North Central Massachusetts and Southern New Hampshire. Mr. Muldoon is currently chair of the Board of Trustees of the Massachusetts Hospitals Association. He's also served in several leadership positions with the American Hospital Association and the Joint Commission. Mr. Muldoon earned an undergraduate degree in Health Services Administration from Providence College and a master's degree in Business Administration from Loyola University of Chicago. He is a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives. Mr. Muldoon and his wife Eileen, a professional photographer and educator, have 2 adult children. Pat?
Thank you. Good afternoon. And thank you to Tim and Tim. You've allowed me these 2 hours to escape from the campus of the Medical Center because this week is what we call Joint Commission Week. Every 3 years we are accredited by our national organization, or the national organization on the accreditation of hospitals in the country, and it's unannounced. And so Monday morning, the morning of my birthday, I would add, 9 surveyors walk through the front door and say, "We're here." And my calendar absolutely drops, and we go into overdrive on all of the Joint Commission preparation that we do. And none of us pretty much leave the campus until tomorrow afternoon at about 5 o'clock. So this was a great excuse. I said, nope, Thursday afternoon from 2 to 4, I have to go over to Assumption College. So thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity to describe UMass Medical Center's commitment to recruiting and retaining talent in our community by hiring graduates from the Worcester area, exceptional colleges and universities. Of course, one institution that we are particularly have strong connections with is the UMass Medical School, our academic partner. Each year, we welcome newly minted doctors, nurse practitioners, and scientists to our clinical and translational research ranks. But we are also fortunate to benefit from the intellectual, social, and technical skills developed by the other Central Massachusetts colleges and universities. And in 2013, just the period of time, 2013 into 14, we've hired 213 graduates from the 9 members of Mass EdCo. They've joined the Medical Center to begin their careers in a range of fields: nursing, administration, pharmacy, finance, public safety, and information system technology. We recruited 43 registered nurses just in the past year from Worcester State University and 23 from Becker College. As the largest employer in Worcester, we know that we must offer an attractive combination of great benefits and a fulfilling career development that supports the lives graduates like Nick want to lead. We offer generous paid time off and flexibility through our approach to a work-life balance. In addition, our mission to serve a healing presence in our communities appeals to many young people looking to make a difference for others. To sustain the vitality of our organization, we know we must infuse it with those just starting their careers, because our current employee ranks include many baby boomers looking forward to their retirement. Not too soon. I hope not too soon. So that's why we partner with WPI, Worcester State University, to develop the educational programs that prepare students to excel in the dynamic healthcare industry of the future. Our Career Path Internship Program and constant presence at college and university career fairs strengthens our connection with higher education. But we know we have competition. The Research Bureau's survey of the class of 2014 that Nick referenced shows that Boston and other major cities on the East and West Coast are a strong pull for graduates. The survey shows that if graduates decide to leave the area, they do so for 3 reasons that Nick mentioned: to be closer to family and friends, the lack of job opportunities in their field locally, and the fact that they don't consider the area a desirable place to live. So, how does UMass Memorial Medical Center provide a counterpoint to these factors? We know from the survey that economics, bringing in good, steady, immediate income, and an emotional connection to Worcester and the region are essential. How can we enhance our offerings to recruit and retain even more talent locally. So let me do this by telling a story. The experience of one of our employees, Francis Wanjeo, helps to illustrate how we try to answer these questions. Francis is a practice improvements facilitator for our system's Office of Clinical Integration. Through this role, Francis is helping our organization deliver a more integrated model of healthcare. Francis literally is helping us create our future. He received his undergraduate degree in liberal studies from Clark, and while there, he interned. Nikki, something you mentioned, that is that initial connection through those internships with the medical center in our human resource department. Francis chose the medical center because he always wanted to be involved in healthcare in one way or another. And he wanted to work for an organization that has deep community roots and is a partner to area residents. The medical center's competitive benefits and compensation are a draw for top talent, as is its size, because we can offer many growth opportunities. He feels one improvement we could make is to the level of our tuition reimbursement. Other local organizations have more available tuition reimbursement to their staff to continue that development, so we're taking that very seriously. His transition to employment at the medical center was pretty smooth. Having spent time as an intern, Francis became familiar with a number of functional areas in the organization. He shadowed employees, attended executive meetings, and prepared organizational materials for employee surveys. Since his start in January of 2006, Francis says he's been fortunate to work with people who have supported him, offered him guidance, and challenged him. Friends have now become mentors who are his best professional and has his best professional interests at heart. Francis feels connected to the medical center and its mission because so many of his fellow employees live and work in the local community. He has a hand in benefiting young people and encouraging others to join the organization by working with Worcester area students in programs that UMass Memorial supports. Francis says this is his way of giving back and paving the way forward for other young students who are looking for guidance and inspiration to pursue careers in healthcare. I'll conclude with this last note from Francis. He says that working at an organization in the same town as his alma mater makes him a living example to his fellow Clarkies, as he referred to them, that Worcester is a viable place to find employment as well as education. He says, having come from Kenya to join Clark, I never thought that I would end up buying a home here and staying this long. Worcester was my first stop in America, and it has now become my new home. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, we're going to have a little panel discussion and then some time for audience questions. But let's jump right in on the issue that Patrick ended with. Is it an issue of needing more jobs? Is it an issue of quality of life? Is it an issue of a Worcester brand? Is it an issue of a lack of knowledge of Worcester? You know, in those areas, it's a multi-pronged, I guess, question. How do we address those? Is it one answer? Is it all of the above? Nikki?
Sure. So I think that, there's a lot of things to be said about, why college students stay or don't stay. In particular, I do think that it is knowledge of the job opportunities that are available. For example, there's a lot of smaller or mid-sized businesses in the area that have great opportunities at the entry level and the internship level and have a strong career path. But a lot of times college students are focused on what they know of from a consumer brand standpoint, so they might not always recognize a company for a great opportunity because they've never heard of it. So I think it is really important to be able to get some visibility for the businesses and for the perspective of connecting the students with the opportunities, because I'm not so sure that there is a lack of opportunities, but it's really a question of how do the students find out about what's there, and also too to be able to showcase the talent that a lot of our students have. And perhaps they can fill a need that a business might not necessarily know that they have. From the internship standpoint, I think it's really important, and we talk to, and at Assumption we talk to new businesses and organizations every day that they might host a student for a community service or community service learning and find that what the student has been able to contribute to their organization is far more than they ever expected. And as a result of that, see a need to maybe bring the student on for another semester or an internship, and that helps the student to understand that there's more opportunities out there and then make them more apt to stay in the community after graduation.
Thanks. Nick?
I
Students have a knowledge of Worcester. What's the Worcester brand?
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of it is knowledge of Worcester and the brand. When people think of Cambridge and Boston, they think college city, college town. But they don't realize all that, like, Worcester has to work on branding itself, which they are, but they need to do a little bit more about branding it. Like, there's a lot to do in Worcester at a night. Me and my friends, when we go out, it's like easily go to a few different restaurants at night and other places, and it just have a lot of fun. But those are the things that college students want to do right out of school. And I think what's challenging for Worcester is that there's not really a centralized location in downtown where students can do that. You kind of have to crisscross the city to go from one place to the next. So I think that's an advantage that Boston has, is that there's really a lot of centralized locations that in walking distance. City Square, another project the city's working on, is trying to fix that, I think. So once that happens, it would be great, because that's going to include housing downtown and restaurants and stuff to go out to. So I think it's knowledge that there actually is stuff to do. It might be a little harder to get to it, but there really is a lot of fun to do. But it's that branding that Worcester really needs to work on, I think.
Patrick, you want to jump in on that?
So I think it's, you're right, Tim, it's all the above. But I think just a little bit of my background. I grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And talk about a tough sell. New Bedford's probably a tough sell and doesn't have many of the advantages of Worcester. But in many ways, Worcester and New Bedford are similar, older manufacturing towns that are really trying to find their new life. But I think it's incumbent on all of us, those of us that are invested in Worcester, to speak up for Worcester and be positive about Worcester. Just before I left, I took a page out of a recruiting package. It's actually a job spec for a chief operating officer position that we are currently recruiting for at the medical center. And you'd read this one page about Worcester and the community, and I think anybody would jump at that opportunity. And we really do not have trouble recruiting people to Worcester per se. And yes, we certainly sell the closeness, the proximity to Boston and Providence and New York. The skiing very close nearby, but also throughout northern New England. But I think it's incumbent upon us to be positive about Worcester and feel confident that we can sell this place, and it is a great place to live. Mm-hmm. It's a great place to raise a family, and it's up to us, I think, to continue to support that point of view.
And that includes our members of the media that are here too, right?
Mm-hmm. Takes a team, is that what they say?
Right, we're all a team. We talk about competing as regions, and as we talk about a strategy around retention and attraction of students, city-based, regional-based. Again, Nick, when you talk to students, what do you hear?
I think it's probably city-based, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't hear many college students wanting to move to a small town, like Douglas or Webster. I think if it's gonna succeed, it's gonna succeed in Worcester. And I think as they get older and wanting families and stuff, I think that's when the regional economy comes into place. But in terms of right out of school, I think it's Worcester. But the location of Worcester really is like a gem. We're an hour away from Boston, not even an hour away from Providence, but yet we don't have to deal with all the congestion of that city. I think it's a win-win. It's just a matter of the message we send out, articulating that to the students. But you can get on the train and get anywhere pretty quickly, and I think that's huge. And we also have all like the outdoor stuff to do, like the skiing, the hiking. A project that we just got funding for was the Mid-State Trail Project, which brings hiking trails all connected to Worcester. So that brings in a whole new kind of avenue of people that really want to enjoy the outdoors but don't want to be in the middle of nowhere, so they can live in city and still take advantage of that. So.
Patrick, UMass is not only the largest employer in Worcester County, but one of the largest employers in the state in terms of the strategy on your campus and with your team. Regional, city, both?
Yeah, I think it depends on which level we're recruiting at. So we have, for this Chief Operating Officer position, for instance, we're recruiting across the country, and we'd certainly entertain international candidates as well. But as we move into the day-to-day operations of the organization, we really need to recruit the students coming out of the schools of Greater Worcester. So we have, I'll include the system, not only the medical center, but UMass Memorial Healthcare, approximately 12,000 employees. The last time I looked at this about a week ago, we had about 850 vacant positions that range from dishwashers to advanced degree physicians and PhD positions, and everything in between. So we need a vital pipeline into the local, particularly the youth that are graduating not only from high school but also particularly from the area colleges. That's our highest recruitment for the kind of the frontline positions will be the local community.
Nikki, did you want to jump in on that one?
Sure. So, well, first I'll say I have about 400 students graduating in May. So
Let's line them up.
Give me a call. But no, I mean, I think, you know, as Nick mentioned, I think a lot of students will go where the opportunity is. So to the extent that, you know, we can create the opportunities locally and regionally, I think that's great. I mean, a good story from one of Nick's classmates who graduated in May came through our office as almost by accident to do a practice interview, and the person conducting the interview was one of the operations managers at UNM, and the two hit it off. He had a great practice interview, and it just so happened that a few weeks later a position became available at UNM, and he's been there since about a week after graduation and is being really successful. You know, he found an apartment in the city and is really building his own, you know, local community, having now being at UNM. So I think, you know, it's all about where the opportunity is and how we can connect the talent with that opportunity.
And I'd follow up on that, Tim, to any of this. If there are students here in the auditorium, I would encourage you to network. Network this year, next year, 30 years from now. Just keep building that network. But a great way to do it is through the internships, because you're just another resume. If you graduate in June and in a crowded job market, you're just another resume. If you've interned somewhere, you have contacts. And during that 4-month or 5-month internship, you know, just build that network, meet as many people as you can possibly meet, have a positive impact in those opportunities that you have to meet people. But begin to get involved as early on. I remember I didn't have a car yet, so it was probably my sophomore or junior at Providence. I volunteered, didn't get paid for it, but I volunteered at Roger Williams Medical Center, which was close to PC, so I had to walk. And that was just a great experience. Not that I didn't end up there, but I had an in. I knew people. If I did want to work there, I had a leg up on every other resume that would come through the door.
A lot of what we talked about in terms of our ability to retain students and keep them here is about information that they get either positively or negatively, impressions that they get either positively or negatively. Just the three of you, how do you get your information and impressions as it relates to the city or the region or other cities or regions that impact you either positively or negatively?
Well, now I read the Telegram and Gazette. When I was a college student, you know, they're really, to be honest with you, we didn't get much information about the city and what it had to offer. A lot of college students had no idea what was going on in the city. I remember I was driving, I think, probably to Wings Over Worcester one day, in Kelly Square, and I saw this huge tent and like festival. I'm like, what's going on there? And I think it was part of probably Canal District, I want to say. I'm like there's no connection between city, what's going on in the city and like college students and coordinating some kind of days to take buses out. There's none of that. I think the WU card tries to help with that. Once you sign up, you get emails about things going on in the city, but even that's not widely distributed between the college students, not yet at least.
Patrick? Nikki, if so.
Sure. So as from the standpoint of my particular role in the Career Center, being involved in a variety of different professional organizations and committees locally and regionally is the primary way that I get information about, the job market, the economy, different types of businesses and what they're hiring. So, the relationship that we have with the Chamber is a very good one for getting information about specific organizations, but also organizations like the National Association of Colleges and Employers and the Eastern Association of Colleges and Employers is a good way for me as a Career Center professional to be able to get information about what's going on in the sort of college hiring, entry-level internship space. I think that's really important because those member organizations consist of my peers at different institutions across the country, and also organizations that have an interest in developing their own talent success through the entry-level rank. So that's definitely a good way for us to get information.
So I guess I would start assuming that the TNG is here. I read the TNG cover to cover every day. And I do peruse, I do look at TNG every day. It is a source of information, particularly in this community. Watch Channel 3 if I get home at a reasonable hour. The Worcester Business Journal, I think, is a great newspaper for obviously for the business community in Worcester. But again, I would go back to engagement. That's where I get the best information of what's going on, engaging with other leaders in the greater Worcester community. I've only been here a little over a year now. Was in Northern Berkshire County. That was 100 years ago. I was in Northern Worcester County now for 9 years, for a period of 9 years, and was very engaged. We were talking about serving on bank boards earlier, but also very engaged in community events. And I will look forward to developing those engagement opportunities here in Worcester, because that's really where you learn what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on some of the new media in terms of forming people's impressions and information?
We are on every social media out there, not only trying to recruit people into the medical center, but also learning a lot about people. If we become interested in a person, there's a tremendous amount of information on individuals out there, more than what they would typically put on a resume. You can learn a lot about people before you offer them a job. So particularly having two younger daughters and how active they are in social media, I would just caution, be careful what you put on there. As we say, don't put anything in there that you wouldn't want on the front page of the TNG, because someday it may just end up there. But we use it as a tool. We leverage social media as much as possible in the recruitment process, and to learn about those people that we are recruiting.
I think, social media definitely has a role to play in promoting, especially if you want to contact college students. That's where they spend most of their time. Even in class, they're on their laptop. So, sorry, Professor White, if you're back there. That's the but other forms, I think Worcester Magazine, I think, does a pretty good job about writing stories about the city. I've read that a few times, and they do a lot of community spotlights too, which I think are important to identify who's in the city and what they're working on. I think I think there's a lot more potential for Worcester to market itself to students and to possible people moving into work here and stuff like that. Because I mean, there is a lot to offer, like we said.
Nikki, in terms of the job opportunities and letting students know and linking them up with companies, there's traditional ways, job fairs and things like that. Any emerging trends, or is it kind of a multi-pronged approach?
I think it's definitely at this point a multi-pronged approach. I think my peers in the room from the other career centers in some of the cities could probably debate that career fairs are probably not as effective perhaps as they might have once been. It's challenging sometimes to get students to interact on a face-to-face basis, because they can go to an organization's website, they can follow them on Twitter and Instagram, they can go to their company page on LinkedIn and find out almost as much information as they could in talking to a live employee. So, I think as colleges and universities, we've been trying to get a lot more creative in how we can educate the students about the opportunities and really to be able to help the employers, especially the smaller and mid-sized employers, to understand, that setting up a booth in my campus center is probably not the way that you're going to get the best candidates, because honestly, the Dunkin' Donuts is a lot more popular than somebody handing out a piece of paper about a job, because that's just not the mindset that you have in the 10 minutes that you're going back and forth to class. As Nick said, you're checking your Twitter feed and, see who followed you on Instagram and all of that kind of stuff. So, I think career fairs are still important, but networking opportunities, as Patrick mentioned, and engagement, I think is really important. We've been doing a lot more in engaging our alumni on smaller scales. For example, during our fall athletic preseason, we worked with a lot of our head coaches to bring in former student athletes who are, our alums who are former student athletes, and have a panel with the men's soccer team and talk about, how did my role as the captain of the soccer team or the center defender, how did that translate to my career path? So we're, trying to connect the students with information about career opportunities in a much, more intimate way than perhaps a large career fair, so that they can, sort of start to build their networks and work out from there.
Nick, if you were to identify on campus, I'm going to ask, just in light of some of where this conversation's going, your experience being on campus, and I know there's some students here, and we get into the Q&A, certainly welcome kind of their comment or feedback, but is there any kind of when your time at Assumption, was there a go-to place that every student either physically went or kind of online or the school newspaper, where if you were to say, here's the most consistent place the majority of the students checked in on or read, what would it be?
For job opportunities or like
Just
news in general?
Yeah.
The Provoc, the school newspaper, I would say, they're all over campus. I would say that's where they went, or they just really online. They went to Politico. Well, I went to Politico. Probably most others didn't. Probably BuzzFeed. I would say like stuff like they get all their news and stuff online. Yeah.
With that, let's open it up. We've got some great panelists with some great experience and different viewpoints. So, Russ?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it. I'm involved in the community. I live in the community with Hampton properties, and we house hundreds of college students, mostly graduates. So I connect to this issue, and I'm sitting next to a recent graduate from a college here, works for Bay State Savings Bank. So she's from China. So. Chelsea. So I see what these students go through, the decisions about internships and jobs, so I understand all of this. But there's one big white elephant, there's one big, whatever you call it, elephant in the room. Quality of life, reality and perception. There's an enormous safety and public safety issue problem in Worcester. To ignore it, that it doesn't exist, is a dream. There isn't a day or two that goes by that the Worcester Telegram is highlighting multiple shootings, stabbings, heroin, prostitution, overdosing. It's a barrage that never stops. Many people and their parents that come from out of town feel a bit unrattled or unsafe. And it's not stemming, it's getting worse in some ways. It's more popular and present. And I guess the problem is, as much as I make my homes as beautiful as I can and much nicer than the norm, I can't keep everybody safe when they go on break. Their properties get broken into by putting ADT everywhere. So we're constantly pushing back this negative element. Until the city has a plan to stem that, students aren't going to feel as comfortable to walk from point A to point B to point C to these highlights that are wonderful developments. That's why I'm putting all my eggs in the basket of Worcester for my future business and success and hiring people. But this is the thing I'm constantly fighting against to try and keep my residents safe, because it's a never-ending battle. And it's the biggest, I think, the biggest impediment to people wanting to live here.
So if the city manager who's supposed to be here were here, or I guess my question is, when you look at the FBI reporting data and crime statistics, and even the data that comes out of the Massachusetts Department of Public Safety, Worcester, compared to most other urban centers nationally in the Northeast, is middle or lower in violent crime and a whole host of other things. So I guess my question to you, is it a reality issue or a perception issue, or the media's reporting it more, or is it?
I think, and part of the problem is a lot of that crime is centered in the densely populated older sections of the city where a lot of colleges are located. So that's where there's money, there's nice cars, there's laptops, there's goods and services, goods that people want to steal and take. A lot of kids get held at night point and get their iPads taken and so forth. There's an influx of people that have money and things that certain things happen. I know I'm mostly based on Clark, so it's more of an inner city location that's on the Main South area, but I see the same thing that we kind of better. And I know that's from feedback, I guess, not just my own opinion, it's feedback.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in Worcester for 4 years now, and I'm now living here on my own, and I've honestly have never felt unsafe once in the city. I've walked from the DCU Center to Park Ave at like 12 at night once, and with some friends, I walked it fine. I didn't feel unsafe. I get the area in Clark. I can understand that being an unsafe area, but I think Worcester in general is a pretty safe city to live in. My friends I've talked to have never once said or felt unsafe when they've interacted or lived in the city. But so I would say probably it's a perception issue for the city.
Well,
I just want to give some of the other panelists.
And if I can say that, yes, picking up on that. So going for the perception, like there used to be a huge loitering issue in front of City Hall. No one actually got really hurt. There was just sort of gang-on-gang issues. Nobody could walk by and sort of get accosted. But there was a feeling of discomfort because of the language factor, the pushing, shoving, and sort of the...
So we just want to get our panelists if they want to comment on that, and we'll go on to the next question.
Yeah, so the first thing I thought of is I had a daughter that went to Providence College, and very proud that she did, because both her mom and dad went there. Not to plug Providence College, sorry. But Assumption's very good. Yeah, Assumption's great. Assumption's great. But when my daughter went there, she graduated 5 years ago, we were very, as strict as we could possibly be. Whatever it costs you to take a cab from the Providence College campus to get downtown, do it. Do not walk next to Chad Brown, which you had to go through that section of the city to get downtown, because students were regularly assaulted in that area. So I think it is an urban problem. I don't know the statistics as well as Tim knows them, but it is something that I think the city and the schools probably need to address, need to continue to address.
Nikki?
I mean, I think just in general, Assumption is a very safe place. You know, we happen to be in a lovely part of the city, which surprises a lot of our prospective students and families in particular. I think that they come here and they're like, wow, this is Worcester. So it definitely, I think, helps to showcase the other parts of the areas too, because, well, you know, I think in any city, I spend a great deal of my career in downtown Boston, and like any city, there's some places that might be a little more challenging than others.
Sir?
Notwithstanding the examples that we've heard, there are a lot of white people here. And I'm a chamber member, and most of the chamber functions that I attend are all or nearly all white. So what we have in many instances are white people talking about white people issues. And the demographics of Worcester is shifting. The demographics of Worcester are becoming much more diverse with people from other countries. The growth of the black population is far outstripping the growth of the white population. So we've got a community that in many ways doesn't talk to one another. Part of it may be fueled by some of the fears regarding safety, fueled by the fears regarding just some of the chaos in different parts of the city. But the fact is, this is what Worcester is and what Worcester is becoming. So in an effort to try to figure out, both from a college perspective and also from the chamber perspective, how do we make a more inclusive city, recognizing that this is what the city is becoming, such that we can find jobs in minority businesses, find engagement with minority business communities, and make this a college community in a city that reflects and supports one another.
I would just say, as relates to the chamber, and we haven't publicized this yet, but we have a gentleman who works part-time for the chamber who was a former mayor in Ghana. And he has visited 600 businesses, literally walking the street with information about the chamber, trying to engage, meet with the owner, and let them know about opportunities to get involved and open up that conversation in literally every neighborhood of the city. And that's ongoing as we speak. And when that kind of process is completed, we hope to have an outreach and invite them to participate in some neighborhood kind of dialogues with some of the neighborhood business groups. But you're absolutely right. We understand that and are underway in new levels of outreach, literally door to door, face to face, to learn and listen, and making sure that we're responsive to all of our members' needs. And 80% of our members are small businesses, and that's where many of the minority business community, they're entrepreneurial. Many of them are small businesses, so we are very serious about that effort. Mark?
Tim, I would agree with our panelists that engagement on the part of our students is key, because I think the more that they learn about Worcester, the more that they are impressed. And I think that internships are also key to that engagement. One of the areas that's probably underutilized right now, though, is federal work study. And most people are familiar with work study in that it's additional funds from the feds directed towards low-income folks to provide for small income, typically 10 hours a week. Of those federal work study monies that are received by an institution, 7% are mandated to be spent in the community for community service, typically with nonprofits. And so that's probably done by most of our institutions. I don't think it's audited by those. But one of the areas that's probably grossly underutilized is that up to 25% of federal work study monies can be in partnerships with for-profits. So it's typically a 50-50 split. So here's a scenario. A student is awarded federal work study, maybe for the first few years as an accounting major, is working with an accounting firm. But that senior year, she might be working with an accounting firm. We talk about that transition, especially right before someone's after graduate, to be able to create an impression with an employer. So I think we've got an opportunity, we've got another tool in the toolbox that can be utilized. I think it's just a matter of having those discussions with our colleges and universities and the business community.
Great point. Thank you, Mark.
Just referring back to the survey that we had earlier this year about several graduates saying that they hoped for more businesses downtown to be open within the lounge areas, places to hang out. Is there anything like that developing, or any sort of examples we can point to where there are more factors for keeping these recent graduates around? And on top of jobs, the environment also plays a big role, as you guys discussed.
Well, in the 1,100 student survey, and we really were pleased with the survey in the sense that it touched all the campuses. There was a male-female split, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So it was really, I think, a great sample. And the feedback, some of the specific retail stores, places that students expressed that they would like to see, is in fact part of the business recruitment effort that the Chamber's undertaken in partnership with the City of Worcester, with the Worcester Business Development Corporation, with the MBI, and others, some of the developers in the downtown. And interestingly enough, many of those same things that the students desire are things that the larger population wants in the downtown. So it is very much helping and informing us, and it's real data and information that we can show then to companies to say, this isn't an anecdote or something we just think. Here's some direct data from the students. So it has been very helpful.
But no plans have come forward, there's no way to take a place or something like the other things.
Well, actually, one opened up yesterday on Talitas on Front Street, and great El Salvadoran Mexican food, great. And so we are talking with different retailers locally and others, and we're hopeful that we're going to make some progress, especially with the recent announcement from Opus in Hanover, their developer Leggett McCall, about the market rate housing going forward. That triggers the hotel. And the announcement yesterday as well, the WBDC and Quincy Community College, there will be a restaurant that's going to be opening up on Franklin Street. So it's storefront by storefront, block by block, and that is the strategy which we've embarked upon. Okay.
So Patrick, Tim sort of referenced that I work with the chamber and making these connections with employers and colleges for internships and things like that. I think some of the challenges that our employers have, and you kind of referenced it a little bit in your talk, is really appealing to that millennial student and help, part of the challenge, I think, after hiring them is retaining them. Millennials really have a lot of unique needs that, we aren't necessarily accustomed to in the workforce. We need to keep it super fun and sexy and have this work-life balance that you're sort of referred to. If UMass is doing it well, what advice do you have for other employers for retaining them?
Yeah, I think we could do it a lot better. I look at my daughter, who has a degree in quantitative economics and an MBA, and for a period of time worked in high-tech business sector in Boston. And I couldn't believe the benefits that she was given. Free lunch every day. They order out any restaurant. The company pays to bring the food in. They do tremendous team building. They'll go to Las Vegas on team building trips for the senior managers. And that's not anything we're doing, I can assure you that. But that's what that generation is looking for. They don't want to work probably the way either I work now or the way I worked 40 years ago coming out of school. They want that balance, and that, it was just a different mindset. So I think we have to do, I think primarily through our benefit program, and through a lot of time off and family leave, we are extremely generous, but we're not nearly as creative as we need to be for that next generation coming up. We're very active. We have very young people that do all the social media design and interaction, just because, I probably, as my daughters would tell me, I just don't get it. So it really is trying to find those creative areas, use young people to develop kind of the recruitment tools to recruit people that look and act and have the same interests as they do. I wish I had a better answer.
Chris? And then we have a WPI student next.
I'd just like to ask each of the panelists, in your travels around the country or around the region, what have you seen in any city that's really cool, funky, wild, that you'd like to see on the Worcester? Any one idea?
I'll go first. Water fire in Providence, using, thanks to former mayor, maybe the next mayor, moved rivers and train stations and you name it, but water fire. It was just the bureaucracy of the city connecting with the art community of the city, coming up with this wild idea of building fires in the new river that runs right through Providence, coupling that with very creative music and different themes on different nights. That's a wow experience if you haven't participated in that. All ages, families, college kids, all young and old. That just popped right into my mind when you asked the question.
So mine revolve around, I think, transportation. To be honest with you, as unsexy as that is, it's like when I go to DC, LA, New York City, like you can get around the whole city extremely easy on public transportation, not costing you more than a few dollars. So I think Worcester really, well, not Worcester, but the WRTA has a really, they have a big opportunity to make transportation a lot easier, and students would really use it if there was like a red line that went through a few different stops, a green line, a blue line. As I know, it's not like kind of high tech or anything, but that would make life a lot easier in Worcester. But what's making it easier now, Uber is going to be coming to Worcester, so we have that at least until then.
Yeah, I would agree with Nick that I think transportation is definitely a big question, and that makes things a better place. I even think about my own experience as a recruiter. I had the unfortunate or fortunate experience, I think, of spending a lot of time in Minneapolis in February. And one of the really neat things that they had was you could walk probably 10 or 20 city blocks without even ever going outside. You have, sort of above the sidewalk connectors. And I just remember thinking that was a really neat thing to be able to do in February without having to go outside. So you could easily walk from a meeting with a local business to a local restaurant without even putting on your winter coat in Minneapolis in February.
Skybridge, we may be coming soon to Worcester.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
So my name is David. I'm Director of Public Relations for the Career Development Center at WPI. And I think we have one half of the story with the survey that we provided out to our students. But what I'm curious about is to the business community, what are either the projections or the needs of our students so that we could almost have a mapping exercise of sorts between what our students are looking for and what are the businesses looking for. And I think part of the story is with the intern hub database and making sure that we share that with our students. But I'd be curious to hear about, from the company perspective, what is it, whether it be the skills or projection of what is desired for next summer, for example, so that we can help communicate that to our students.
Well, maybe Patrick can speak to how UMass Memorial kind of anticipates and projects forward, but this past April, the Chamber of Commerce rolled out a report with the Worcester Business Journal at the economic forecast. And the report, looking at Worcester, but also the region, the Worcester Economic Competitiveness Outlook, really used census data and workforce data over the last 10 years to try to understand what has happened and where things are going, where's the growth sectors. And it is clear, absolutely clear, that where we're seeing the fastest job growth and the fastest and the most lucrative kind of jobs are all in the innovation sector. So as was mentioned, Nick talked about Mass Digi, what's going on there, things that WPI is doing in robotics, financial services. Those are the areas, and a lot of them STEM related, are where we're seeing lots of the growth, and that's something we need to continue to work on with our campus partners in terms of workforce needs and getting those skills. That's what the data shows, and that report we can get to you. We rolled it out in a variety of different ways, and I think it's a good kind of baseline of what we've got to do collectively to meet employer needs.
I would say that we need all of those. Thought that comes to mind, kind of the old school jobs, the people at the bedside. We need nurses, we need occupational therapists, pharmacists, physical therapists. We have a lot of training programs in those areas with a lot of schools that help widen that funnel of students that might be interested in UMass Memorial Medical Center. But we also need new wave jobs. So we need, and we have a program with WPI in management engineering, lean management. That is the future for us. We are changing the way we do business, and we are changing the way we solve problems. It's not the old way, it is the new way, and we need engineers that can help us in our lean journey. We're going to be taking an area of information systems that we've outsourced previously. We're going to bring it in-house. We think it's will help us economically to bring those jobs in-house. So we need data folks, we need application folks, and we'll give them great benefits and pay them a very nice wage. So we need kind of all the above. We need the traditional healthcare jobs, but we need the jobs of where healthcare is going to.
And we are at a little beyond our time, so